Conspiracy theories have abounded for years about our government running secret operations without the public's knowledge. But while many people brush this off as fantasy or even the ravings of paranoid minds, as it turns out, some of these operations really did happen, and they were beyond unsettling. Here are the 10 creepiest CIA operations. Number 10 is Project OKHILLTOP. When the CIA was set up in 1947, it became clear that the Soviet Union was carrying out a series of research programs on human beings without a care for ethical considerations. Some at the CIA believed that this put the country at a disadvantage, and so after covert missions to spy on the Soviets, a number of secret US experiments were set up in bunkers and research installations. One of these was Project OKHILLTOP. This experiment hoped to replicate a Chinese technique which the Soviets were also investigating to cause brain damage in people so that they would become docile slaves. No one knows exactly what went on, but in one declassified memo in 1954, a doctor overseeing the project mentioned hypnosis, humiliation, torture, and a creepy unidentified term, what he called black psychiatry. Number 9 are the Chesapeake Bay deaths. In 1978, CIA agent John A. Paisley vanished. Paisley was a high-ranking agent and had at one time been a CIA liaison with the White House Special Investigations Unit. After being reported missing, Paisley's boat was found in the Chesapeake Bay off the coast of Maryland and Virginia. Soon, his body was discovered in the water, weighed down by diving weights. He had been shot above the left ear, and it was deemed a suicide, but some of the forensics are sketchy at best. Paisley's estranged wife said that she didn't believe that the body was his, and that he had defected to a Russian submarine and faked his death. But it gets creepier when 18 years later, Paisley's mentor and fellow CIA agent William Colby was found dead at the exact same place with no explanation of how an experienced sailor like Colby could have ended up in the water. Number 8 is Project MONARCH. In 1995, American author Cathy O'Brien came forward with startling revelations about CIA practices. She claimed that the CIA had been carrying out hideous experiments on children. More than that, she claimed that she was a survivor of these experiments. She called the CIA practice Project MONARCH. Project MONARCH allegedly involved CIA and government officials from the US and other countries. They were perfecting a kind of mind control using abusive behavior to break down a child's resistance so that they could grow up to be unwitting pawns in the CIA's mind control endeavors. However, what's most shocking about these accusations is that O'Brien claims that the CIA's techniques were based on the tactics of molesters who manipulated their victims into doing whatever they want. Number 7 is Operation POPEYE. Controlling people's minds is one thing, but altering the weather to bring to fruition an evil plan is another. Operation POPEYE was just such a case. During the Vietnam War, the CIA was looking to disrupt the Vietnamese army. Operation POPEYE was brought into effect to increase the monsoon season, specifically over a region where the Vietnamese soldiers were transporting goods. The CIA seeded the sky with chemicals to bring about more rain, but their efforts were too successful. The rain came down in torrents, and the Songkong River burst its banks and put everyone's lives in danger, including US personnel. The CIA then lied publicly about its efforts, claiming that weather manipulation was science fiction. When the project was revealed in the New York Times, Operation POPEYE quickly ceased. Number 6 is MK Ultra. Project MKUltra is known as one of the creepiest ever CIA cases. Mind control has often been consigned to the periphery as a fantasist conspiracy theory, but when the real truth came to light, the implications were horrifying. MKUltra ran from 1953 to 1973 on US soil. It was a covert operation to turn ordinary citizens into mindless zombies. The test subjects were given powerful psychedelics in an attempt to cause a psychotic break from reality. Once overwhelmed, subjects could be hypnotized and given orders to carry out anything from spy missions to assassinations. A subject would even be unaware that they were an agent until activated by an order or cue. Tragically, one of these subjects was Ted Kaczynski, who later became the Unabomber, killing 3 people and injuring 23 more in a mall bombing spree. Number 5 is Project MKNAOMI. Project MKNAOMI is the stuff of nightmares. It involved the CIA developing technology to kill anyone they wanted without being suspected. MKNAOMI developed a series of these weapons. Some were chemical in nature and built to incapacitate subjects, but one weapon could kill. This was a secret dart that, when fired at a person, injected them with a chemical compound which would cause a fatal heart attack. The dart was so small that it would burrow under the skin and then release its chemical payload. The only evidence being a tiny red dot on the skin, which investigators would disregard as a cause of death. In the 1970s, MKNAOMI was abolished as the US committed to stopping chemical research, but many believe the CIA perfected its weapon and can now make any murder look like a natural death. Number 4 is the KYSHTYM disaster. The KYSHTYM disaster took place in 1957 in the Soviet Union. On the 29th of September, residents many miles from KYSHTYM began to report strange lights in the sky. Kept in the dark by the Soviet government, over 11,000 residents were ordered to kill their livestock and bury their crops with no explanation. The truth was that a nearby nuclear facility had been leaking. Nearly 18,000 workers at the installation had already received radiation poisoning working with radioactive materials in the previous 10 years, but this leak exposed 270,000 people to the toxic materials that caused the atmosphere to glow. But what's more disturbing is that the CIA then assisted the Soviets in keeping the disaster secret so that the American people wouldn't learn the truth about the dangers of nuclear technology. 2 great enemies colluded to fool both of their populations. Number 3 is Project Artichoke. During the 1950s, the CIA had a department known as the Office of Scientific Intelligence, but the official sounding name hid a dark purpose. As with a lot of CIA covert cases, there were a number of people there looking into mind control techniques. The Office of Scientific Intelligence was one of those groups. They carried out Project Artichoke, a secret experiment which forced subjects to become heroin addicts. Then the CIA would use drug withdrawal and hypnosis in an attempt to make each person into a docile, willing zombie. They would then administer a potent cocktail of chemicals to incite amnesia, wiping any memory of the process out of the minds of each victim. Project Artichoke was shut down in the 1960s, but it was successful enough to encourage others at the CIA and beyond to experiment continuously with mind control. Number 2 is Project Devil Eyes. The CIA has a long history of using psychological warfare. The purpose of these techniques is to get into the mind of an enemy and create a sense of fear or doubt within them. But one of the strangest cases of CIA psychological warfare on record is the 2005-2006 mission in South Asia. The mission was called Devil Eyes and involved the production and distribution of an Osama bin Laden action figure designed to terrify its owners. The 12-inch lifelike figure of bin Laden was painted with a special material. This material would peel off when exposed to a warm temperature, revealing beneath a demon-like face with red skin and green eyes. The mission's goal was to scare children and parents away from bin Laden. It's estimated that hundreds of these dolls were transported to areas where support for bin Laden was high. And number 1 is Operation Mockingbird. Operation Mockingbird was an insidious program devised by the CIA in the early 1950s. It involved a massive number of agents and collaborators numbering over 3,000 in all. These shadowy figures were ordered to gain control of the free press in the United States. Reporters and newspaper editors would be fed information which seemed legitimate, but the information was faked in order to create a narrative which supported the CIA's plans. Not content with swaying public opinion on US soil, Operation Mockingbird also targeted foreign countries, spreading misinformation designed to bring down political leaders. The program was finally exposed in the 1960s, but many believe that rogue elements within the CIA, as well as other organizations, are still acting as sinister agents, controlling news and shaping the way that people think. So, the 10 creepiest CIA cases. What do you make of these? It makes you wonder whether or not the CIA is still up to many things that may not ever be exposed.